Hello and welcome to Strength Training, Mind, Body, and Spirit, presented by the Easter Seals Wellness Program. My name is Kathy Ellis, and for the next about 45 minutes, we're going to be talking specifically about physical activity and strength training. I'm super excited to be here to kick off one of many educational opportunities that we're going to provide for you online. We're going to be doing educational units across the agency this year and recording all of them so that if you can't attend the location that is hosting the wellness presentation, that you'll be able to access it right here through the website. So before we get started, I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Kathy Ellis, and I'm the Director of Health and Wellness at Granite Group Benefits, who is the benefits partner for Easter Seals. I have over 13 years experience as a certified personal trainer, many different environments that I've worked in as far as private gyms, some higher education environments, and also in the hospital setting. My expertise is in clinical human performance and health fitness, and ultimately that just becomes an extreme passion for movement, understanding how the body works, and how to teach people to tap into optimal health and well-being. And that's really what we're going to talk about today. What I wanted to quickly review, if you've made it this far and can hear my voice in this presentation, that means you've been able to access the wellness website through the employees only section of the Easter Seals webpage. There you're going to find all the wellness information, the newsletter, the Facebook group link. Christy Nolt, our amazing wellness coordinator at Easter Seals, will be posting all of the different documents and resources for everything related to the 2017-2018 wellness program right here on the website. So be sure to tune in there on a regular basis so that you can get all the updated information. So, kicking off June and July, this summer we're really focusing on different aspects of movement. Hopefully you are participating in the Big One Challenge, which is a step-based program to kind of promote more movement and cardiovascular activities. Today we wanted to do an educational piece on strength training and really talk about ways of incorporating regular strength training into your routine. So, again, to help you tap into a new level of maybe exercise and energy that you have not experienced before. I'm hoping to give you just the basics as far as guidelines and things you should keep in mind as you're starting a resistance training program, and then give you some tips and even pictures of specific exercises that you can do to get started. So I wanted to kick it off with this wonderful quote: "Take care of your body, then the rest will automatically become stronger." I love that. And this is something you might want to post, above your workstation or wherever is relevant for you. If your body is strong, the rest will also become stronger. How does that fit into your life and resiliency and the thought of, everything that you are trying to accomplish every single day, all the different roles that you play at work, at home, all aspects of your life. If you were stronger in the physical dimension, how does that relate over to your mind and your aura and just your energy and your spirit? The other quote that I really love to incorporate into this presentation is, "If the benefits of exercise could be put into one pill, it would be the most widely prescribed medicine of all." And who could argue with that? And we're going to talk a lot about just the different aspects of health benefits that you can get from regular strength and resistance training. So, quickly reviewing the 4 components of physical activity. Cardio, 150 minutes of moderate cardiovascular exercise is recommended for all adults. That ultimately comes down to about 30 minutes per day. You may or may not be already getting that just in your work day. A lot of you, working with clients, you're on your feet all day long. Many of you might already kind of engage in a regular cardiovascular routine, whether that's walking or running, hiking, whatever that might be, swimming, biking, anything that's going to get your heart rate elevated, it's great health benefits for cardiovascular exercise. Flexibility is something that not everybody does on a regular basis. Sometimes we hear people that are regular, exercisers, but the one thing that they always skip maybe at the end of their workout is their 10 minutes of stretching because they don't have enough time to stretch. So that'll be the first thing that they skip. Daily leisure, obviously a huge component of physical activity. If there's things that you love to do that you do already just because it's fun for you, it might not be a structured activity. It's just something that you love to do. If it has a physical activity component, that all counts towards, meeting the guidelines or the recommendations for movement. And then there's the strength component. And again, for those of us that might do really well on the cardio side, in the leisure side, we feel like we're pretty active, but we don't specifically engage in intentional strength, routine. Maybe because we don't have time, or maybe because we don't know where to start, because there's so many different takes on, what's the right thing to do or the best thing to do, with the different equipment variants that's out there, all the different stuff available to us through group fitness, yoga, all the things that you might see in the media as far as, machines at the gym over doing resistance training with free weights or elastic bands or using your own body weight. It's overwhelming, and sometimes it's kind of like, I want to just focus on my cardio. So I really want to gear this presentation specifically to strength and why we should be intentional in trying to get at least 2 days a week of strength training for our body, mind, and spirit. Here's some quick definitions. Muscular strength is actually defined as a force that any one or combination of muscles can produce in a single effort. Endurance is the ability for that muscle group to exert that force over and over and over again. So when we talk about strength training, we're talking about building up strength and building up the ability to be able to provide more force and be able to lift more weight or a bigger load on a specific, muscle or group of muscles. But then also, while doing that, being able to allow that muscle to repeat that movement over and over again without getting fatigued. So both of those things can be adaptations that your body experiences when you're doing a regular routine. It's a combination of putting those things together that's going to promote larger skeletal muscle. So you will be building muscle. Your muscle cells and fibers change, and you actually kind of build bigger muscles, not to the sense that you're going to bulk up. We talk about, women avoid resistance training because they don't want to get too big, in their arms, or, I ultimately try to debunk a lot of the myths that are out there due to just our nature and hormones for females, that if you train the right way and, you're not completely changing your dietary habits, there's no way that you're going to be able to bulk up to a size that you probably would be uncomfortable with unless you're specifically trying to do so. Regular strength routines that I'm going to talk about today, are really there to promote the health benefits of strength training. For men that are trying to build up size and get strength gains, can train in a specific method to do that as well. And then again, have to have that dietary nutrition component to help, build bigger muscles, in the sense of they're trying to add weight and lean body weight in that manner. We're not going to get kind of into the specifics of that today, but I just wanted to allude to the fact that if you train properly, you will build, more density in your muscles. And I did want to just allude to the fact that strength training is used interchangeably with resistance training. They both mean the exact same thing, okay? So let's talk about the benefits of strength training. I kind of want to talk about the physical dimension first, kind of the things that you may have heard before, but I wanted to really drive home. Developing strong bones and muscle density. Those two things kind of are hand in hand as far as our skeletal structure. We talk about, kids where they're growing and their bones are soft, how important it is for those bones to be stressed so that they develop properly. So playtime is really important, whether it's recess or gym class or sports or just activities that require children to run around and move. Helps build their bones nice and strong as they're growing. Same goes as we get older. Oftentimes as we age, we get a little bit less active, we're sitting more or we're not working as much or whatever might be the case in our lifestyle, that we start to lose bone density. So our risk for osteoporosis goes up. If you're strength training, you're putting regular impact on your bone structure, you can maintain that bone density a little bit better and even help kind of slow down that whole process. The same goes with muscle density. We're going to get more in detail into the specifics of it soon, but as we get older, we are constantly losing muscle density and muscles getting converted back to fat, unfortunately, kind of after age 30 or so, unless we kind of are working proactively through strength training. Let's talk about weight management. A lot of people are trying to find, the most efficient ways to be able to achieve and maintain a healthy body weight. And strength training can be a huge component of that. And through the sense of burning more calories, just the combination of doing cardiovascular exercise and resistance training, but also on the kind of metabolic level that I quickly don't want to get too in the weeds with those processes, but wanted to talk about metabolism in the sense that you can make your metabolism more efficient and kind of increase the rate of your metabolism up to 15%. Now, when we eat, no matter what we're eating, obviously, there's different components of nutrition, proteins, fats, and carbs, but we digest our food down into blood sugar. Okay, so glucose is the building block, of all energy, and we call that glucose. So your blood sugar goes up. if you're have a healthy pancreas that recognizes that has happened, your pancreas will release insulin into your bloodstream to kind of go around your bloodstream and pick up all the blood sugar and carry them into all the cells of your body to keep your cells sustained and alive. So, that's happening on one side. Your brain, your liver, some of your major vital organs also need to save some sugar. They store sugar as backup energy called glycogen in your organs. So the organs are going to be taking out some of the sugar that they need for their storage to be tapped off. And then your muscles. You have skeletal muscles all throughout your body. They all have that kind of energy storage capability. So you're pulling in sugar out of your bloodstream into your muscles to be stored as glycogen for energy that you're going to use when you are physically active later in that day, or if you go a long period of time and don't consume food and you need to convert some of that storage back to energy immediately, that's kind of how the body does that. So think about that. If your muscles get all the sugar that they need, your vital organs that store glycogen get all the sugar that they need, all your cells are satisfied, and you still have blood sugar kind of floating around, if you're not burning it off through movement, what happens to it? It gets stored as fat. Okay, so we talk about fat storage a lot and how we can burn fat as energy and all that kind of component with metabolism. But the big kind of picture deal, if you can remember anything from that story, is that the more muscle you have in your body, the more kind of intake is going to be, used up for the sugar that's in your blood after you eat. So the whole, process is going to be more efficient just due to the fact that you're going to be absorbing more sugar just off the top from, your organs and your muscles. You can't add more organs to kind of play a role in that process, but you can build up the muscle and have the more lean muscle tissue you have in the body, your metabolism will be more efficient and speed up a little bit in that aspect. That last bullet that just popped up, prevent insulin resistance. If you are doing that long term, if you're very active and you're maintaining muscle density throughout your life, hopefully that you can delay the onset or even prevent the onset of any metabolic syndrome or prediabetes or type 2 diabetes that might develop from overloading that system, over the years. So that's really, really important of all of this. We'll talk more about chronic conditions, but more in the physical dimension, talk about obviously reducing the risk of injury and falls, boosting your stamina, and just overall sense of well-being. If anyone has any trouble sleeping, we've seen a lot of studies with strength training. The more, you're exerting yourself through, strength training, hopefully the better it is that you can get to sleep and stay asleep. Chronic conditions, what kind of chronic conditions are out there besides type 2 diabetes? What about, arthritis or back pain? Some of these things that, prevent us from moving just because we're in pain and my back hurts so bad, like I can't exercise. When you go to the doctor and you talk to a physical therapist or anybody will tell you, the more you move and the more efficient you can make the muscles around a joint that might be arthritic, or you can build flexibility in your hamstrings or build your core up to support the back and just build up better posture in those joints, your back pain might go away just from movement itself. So sometimes you just have to go through those motions and give your body a chance to kind of heal itself just through aligning itself properly and getting the right kind of function and performance out of the body that is possible. Very, very important to consider. Helps with everyday activities, makes everything just easier. When you can move efficiently and without pain, obviously that's going to open doors to anything in your world. So quickly, I want to kind of tie that all back to the mind and spirit. If all these things on this screen that you see, all those bullets are very important and are kind of like the health benefits of exercise. But let's talk about how we feel. Let's talk about stress. Especially in your work environment and the work that you guys do, to be sustainable and dealing with just, what you might experience through the day and then what you need to do outside of work to be able to, again, restore yourself or, refill your energy so you can come back tomorrow and give the performance the same, focus that you need and be able to do a great job and do that, have that stamina and that endurance over and over and over again. So strength training can be an amazing relief for stress. Being able to, lift weight or, stretch your muscles or open your muscles and go through different postures can help you just feel better, improve your self-esteem, enhance your clarity of your thinking and your outlook. Those endorphins will be boosted and being able to lift weight sometimes and be able to kind of shock yourself and be like, wow, I've gotten stronger. And you can start seeing your gains and your increase of performance pretty quickly with a regular strength training routine. As you're strengthening the brain muscle connections in your body, it's really empowering, and it can really get you going with positive thinking and energy, and just feeling good about everything, and just being more positive, and changing that kind of voice inside your head to be a little bit more positive and encouraging as well. It's really never too late to tap into any of these benefits. So if we think about, as we get older, I kind of touched on how like our body composition just changes no matter what, just due to age. And sometimes we can think, I'm older, I know my coordination isn't great. I've never really focused on this before. I don't even know where to start. I don't have a good base foundation of muscle memory or muscle density to start with. How do I get started? It's probably too late for me. Well, that's really not true, because we've seen studies even in elderly people in their 70s and 80s that start doing, regular resistance training can have positive health outcomes as far as building back muscle density that maybe they never even had before, and being more efficient in their movements, decreasing their risk for injury and falls, being able to live independently for longer. So super encouraging. So I wanted to give you this quiz, and I think you probably know the answer by now, but true or false, losing strength and muscle tone as we age is preventable? The answer is true. We can prevent it. It will happen naturally, but if we can counter it with regular, safe exercise, we can kind of slow that process down or reverse it completely. So that's really, really encouraging. And I guess the one thing I wanted to share with you specifically, unless you do regularly engage in strengthening exercises, you can lose about 0.5 pound of muscle a year in your 30s and 40s, and that rate can double once you turn 50. So again, losing muscle might ultimately, equivalent to losing strength and endurance, and it might hinder you in doing the activities that you love or being able to manage all the roles that you manage in your day-to-day. So that's really, really important. And if I'm not trying to sell you on why you should add strength training into your life, but it really can help just, the quality of life and your ability to accomplish everything that you want to accomplish actually happen and do it without pain. So this is my favorite part of the presentation, really diving into, the types of training that are available. And I hope that this will make you feel like strength training is more accessible to you. There's a lot of talk and there's a lot of different opinions out there on the best way to do resistance training, the right or wrong way, get this product, or, you have to be in a gym and you have to use all these fancy machines, or, you need to go to a group fitness class or whatever. There is no better way or best method of doing resistance training. What's wonderful about all these different options is that I feel that there is an option for everybody. No matter what your physical limitation might be, say you have a sore knee or you have a sore back, or, maybe you don't have access to a fitness center in your area where you live, but maybe you have some resistance tubes that you got at the store or some free weights at home. It doesn't matter. You can do stuff. You can do something that can promote kind of these positive health benefits that we've talked about. If you have a physical limitation like a sore knee, maybe there's a tool like the stability ball where we can get you in a body position that's comfortable and can take the impact off the knee and be able to still go through the range of motions in other joints in your body and get those positive impacts. So at the end of the day, if you remember one thing, there's no best way. There really isn't. There's just a bunch of different options, and you can do a combination of them. You might really love yoga or group fitness classes, and that's perfect for you. You have access to those, where other people might just use their own body weight as resistance. If you understand the guidelines that we're going to jump into next, you'll be able to kind of make this work specific to you and make it look like whatever works for you. So let's talk about the guidelines. Ultimately, before you start an exercise program or you change kind of the intensity of an exercise program, it's really important just to talk to your doctor. Just let them know that this is something that you're going to pursue. I'm sure they're going to be delighted and super excited for you, especially if you have any, condition already. Maybe you have, high blood pressure, or maybe you have a chronic injury or something that they just want you to say, maybe don't try to do high impact stuff, or don't do anything overhead for your shoulder if you have like a shoulder sensitivity or something like that. They'll give you guidelines to kind of get you started so that you know what to maybe avoid or not start yet until we see how your body feels from other parts of the exercise program. If you have any of these conditions, please, again, really talk to your doctor. You know, if you have any issues with dizziness or loss of balance, obviously that's going to affect what equipment you might want to use or different activities that you might want to engage in that will lower your risk for loss of balance. Obviously, if you have any chest pain or anything like that, you know, we want to know about that before you start your exercise program. Or it may be a better idea for you to start working with an exercise professional that can help monitor any conditions that you might have to make sure that you're exercising safe. So here are some guidelines to get you started. So we have a lot of different muscles in our body, and it's really important that we use all of those muscles in our program, but it can be overwhelming of finding exactly where to start. So if you can start really thinking about doing 8 exercises that train the major muscle groups in your body 2 times per week, you'll be well on your way, and we're going to define what those muscle groups are. If we choose a resistance that allows us to get to about 8 repetitions, okay, so if we're thinking of, you know, squatting up and down in the chair, if we just stood up from our chair and we just did a body weight squat where we're squatting down to our bottom's not touching the chair but right above the chair, you do that 8 times, maybe you're starting to feel some fatigue by that 8th repetition. If not, maybe you can hold, you know, a jug of water or a free weight or something in your hand and do those 8 repetitions again and start to feel a little bit of a burn or a little fatigue at the end of that set. So 8 to 12 reps. You know, if you get to 12 repetitions and you feel like you didn't even do anything, it was just easy the entire time, then you need to increase the load a little bit. We want to be able to feel a little heat or a little fatigue at least number 8. If it's impossible to do at repetition number 8, if it's really, really hard, maybe you need to lower your load a little bit. So, you know, if you're fatiguing, you know, doing a body weight squat at 8 and it feels too hard, maybe you want to use your handle of your chair to assist a little bit to make it a little bit easier, or not use anything in your hand to add extra weight at that time. So again, if it's not giving you a challenge after 12 repetitions, we want you to up that load. Or if it's too much, you know, at 8, 9, 10, you know, decrease your load a little bit. Find something that's a sweet spot where you're feeling it, but it's not impossible to be able to repeat 8 to 12 times in a row and then take a break. An effective workout, once you know kind of that method of picking your right load for the exercise, and you knowing the movements, you can get this done as little as 20 minutes. It's not going to take your entire day to do all 8 exercises. So it's important to do all these exercises with slow, smooth, and controlled motion, maintaining good posture, making sure that you're not locking your joints. We're going to have some pictures to kind of demonstrate that, and that you're using proper breathing techniques. This is another thing that a lot of different professionals kind of argue the best way to breathe. And what I want you to know is I just want you to be aware that you are breathing. A lot of people have a tendency of holding their breath when they're performing resistance training exercises, which ultimately lack of oxygen makes that exercise a lot more difficult. So it's important to kind of get that rhythm going, but it doesn't have to be perfect. If you kind of do it backwards, or if you inhale when you're starting the lift and exhale as you're letting it down, it's really kind of your own comfort that you need to understand and what's best for you, okay? It's really not a right or wrong way. You're just going to realize sometimes in the middle of a set that you're not breathing at all. It's, why is this so difficult? It's like, oh, I haven't taken a breath in like 4 repetitions. And you might even start to see that the exercise is easier when you're starting to breathe. This comes into play a lot with pace as well. It's like, how fast should I be lifting my bicep curl? How fast should I be performing that exercise? And I'll repeat that. Go as fast as you breathe. So if you're breathing out as you're lifting up, and you're breathing in as you lift it down, that's as fast as you should be pacing. As fast as you breathe is how fast you should perform the exercise. So make sure you're doing it in a slow, controlled manner and that you're getting oxygen in and exhaling out. Okay? strength training guidelines as far as just tracking. You see a little training log on there, especially when you're getting started. I think it's really important to write things down so that you remember maybe the different loads that you're using as far as what weights, if you are using machines or, different elastic band colors, or if you're using, different free weights. You don't want to have to think too hard when you're doing this stuff, so writing it down on a strength training log can help you. Making sure you're warming up and cooling down. So in the sense of just whatever muscles you're going to use during your strength training routine, maybe if you're going to do lower body exercises, maybe you just walk a little bit to get the blood flow away from your vital organs. If you've been sitting all day, your blood flow is around your organs and not in your legs and your arms and your skeletal muscles. So just moving around a little bit can get the body warmed up and get the blood flow everywhere. And then you're ready to start your resistance training. And then the same goes when you're cooling down. It's to help kind of flush out, all the different byproducts that happen while we're doing our resistance training, and then kind of just bring you back down to that rest period instead of like maxing out or pushing yourself as hard as you possibly can and then just stopping and going back and sitting down on the couch. You want to kind of ease your body down from that heightened state as well. Allow adequate rest between your exercises. So as you perform each thing, catch your breath. There's different methods as far as layering your exercises so that you can minimize rest and keep your heart rate elevated so you can burn more calories, or kind of do plyometric training where maybe you're doing, a set of bicep curls and then you're doing some jumping jacks to kind of sustain your heart rate, and then maybe you do your squats after that, so you're giving your upper body a rest and working your lower body. There's a lot of different ways you can layer exercises just to kind of sustain your caloric burn and keep your heart rate up. But when you're first starting, just try to kind of separate each exercise out until you fully understand, the safe and correct form for performing each of those movements. So one set would consist, like we said, of 8 to 12 repetitions. That is good enough to improve strength and again builds muscle density in a person that's really never exercised before. And then you want to repeat that set 2 to 4 times per muscle group. And again, this is very basic. There's so many different specific ways you can train based on what your goals are. But what I'm going to recommend to everybody listening today, if you're going from 0 to trying to start a strength training program, if you can do 2 times per week, doing 8 exercises of 8 to 12 repetitions 2 times through, so do 2 sets of each of those 8 exercises, that is a great place to start. Once you do a couple weeks of that, and that's starting to get easier and you're feeling a little bit stronger and those movements feel more natural, then maybe you add a 3rd set, maybe even a 4th set. And then once those things start getting, that volume of exercise starts getting easy, and you want to challenge yourself again, we can talk about the progression in just a moment. Ultimately, we're starting light. We really want to focus on form first, understand the movement first. There's a lot of great resources through Easter Seals, whether it's through a local fitness center that you have in your community, the classes that you might be able to attend, or any of the certified professionals that are available in your area. They can teach you how to have correct form and what exercises might be best for you. So progression, we talked about being able to do those 8 exercises, up to 12 repetitions, a couple times through when you're first starting out. Once you can comfortably lift a weight 12 times, and again, it's not too difficult, you've done that for a couple weeks and you're feeling good about it, then you're ready to progress. Maybe you increase that weight by 5 to 10%, or just enough so that you can lift it that 8 times, that beginning of that range that we had talked about. You might not be able to go up 5% and lift it 12 times right away. That's the goal. You want to put that overload principle on that muscle group where, 8 might be challenging, but then after you start doing that a couple sessions through for maybe a couple weeks, then 8 is not hard enough for you anymore, and you can push it up to 12 repetitions again. And then once you have mastered the new weight and can comfortably lift it 12 times, it's time to progress again. So you can start to see how you can kind of layer these movements in a way that you're going to build strength. Day 1, you're lifting 5 pounds for your bicep curls, and maybe a month later you're up to 8s or you're up to 10s. And you can then now say, I have increased the force that this muscle group is able to lift. And you've built up your strength, and you've probably also built up that muscle density in that area. So defining those major muscle groups. So this picture is great because it really breaks it down to upper body, core, and lower body. So as you're trying to select what 8 exercises am I going to do for those major muscle groups, here they are. So there's very limited amount of things that each of those muscle groups can do as far as movement. So you can start to learn, the push and pull exercises that are available, the different motions that your shoulders are capable of doing, the different movements that might be comfortable for you to challenge your abdominals and your lower back without straining your neck. We've talked about sit-ups and crunches, I think, are something that a lot of people see a lot, but might not be able to do because their neck muscles might be weak. Hips and legs and different variations of squats and lunges that you can do to make sure that you're not, exacerbating a knee injury or any discomfort in your lower body. So this is a great example. Again, breaking it down, if you're going to do the 2 days per week full body routine that we've kind of spoken of, you can just bang each muscle group out, maybe on Tuesday and then maybe you're doing it again on Thursday. It's really good to give yourself at least a day in between or 2 days in between for that muscle recovery so that your body can heal the muscles up and not have too much soreness going into the next time that you're performing exercises. Some people like to do resistance training every single day. And that's great. Or 4 days in a routine, where they're splitting up the muscle groups so that they're not working them on back-to-back days. So, for example, maybe on Monday and Wednesday, you're working your chest, your upper back, your shoulders, tris, and bis. And then maybe on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you're doing your quadriceps, hamstrings, calves, abdominals, and lower back. So you see how you're not repeating, back-to-back days doing the same muscle group so that recovery period can happen. It depends on what time constraints you have or what strength goals that you have, but there's really no right or wrong way of doing it as long as you're doing it. So try to find a way that it fits into your world. So I wanted to quickly go through these pictures. I'm going to post the presentation up on the website as well so that you guys can have these slides to print out for just different exercises that you might want to try. There's different variations to every exercise here. And again, different equipment that can make any of these exercises easier for you. But if you're looking for a basic exercise that you can do right away at home, these are 3 different options as far as ways that you can perform a push-up. If you're just starting out, you can see in the very left, you can see the wall push-ups, which are a great variation that will still challenge your chest, shoulders, biceps, and triceps. Just going up against the wall and pushing your chest, keeping your core nice and tight, nice straight alignment in the body, and coming down as close to the wall as you can, and then pushing straight back with your hands lined with your shoulders. If you want to make that harder, you could even go up on your tippy toes and be pushing a little bit more of a longer lever there and challenging the muscles a little bit more. If that gets too easy, you can go onto the floor with something soft underneath your knees and do a modified push-up on your knees. And then maybe after several weeks of doing that, you can progress to a full push-up there. So that's one example of progression and variation. Other things you can do for your chest. And I love this slide because this gives you an example of how to work the chest and your upper back, which is really important to do a counter of exercises of the opposing muscle groups. So if we're working our chest, we want to then work our upper back because that's kind of your opposing muscle group. As your chest kind of shortens or elongates, your back is going to be doing the opposite. So the first chest press example is using just an elastic band behind the back and then pressing forward with the handles, as you can see in the picture, and then extending back. That's kind of the same mechanism as a push-up, but you're using an elastic band. If you have a gym, you might have the chest press machine where you load your stack of weights to something that you can lift, 8 to 12 times, and you can do a chest press. The seated row, you can mimic this by putting the elastic band around something sturdy, or you can just do it on the floor like she is in this picture. Put it around your sneakers and pull your elbows back, squeezing your shoulder blades together. It's a great upper body exercise, especially for anybody that sits at a computer all day. It's great to open up those back muscles and release some of the tension there. Okay. Other exercises for your shoulder. There's great ways of strengthening your shoulder from doing lateral raises. As you can see in the picture shared here, he's doing kind of a side raise where he's bringing that weight, the free weight, up to his shoulder level out to the side, which is a very difficult exercise and requires, using a really light weight to start just to understand that mechanism. In the other picture, you can see that he's bringing the shoulders exercise, doing a front raise, where you're flexing the shoulders, and you can see his wrist position is actually switched around, so his palms are actually facing the ceiling, and he's lifting up that way, which is actually causing the flexion in the shoulder muscle, instead of kind of the extension that's happening in the other ones. So lots of variations of shoulder raises. You can do a bent elbow raise if you're like that first lateral raise in the picture. If you can't lift, a very light weight out to the side with your elbow extended, try bending your elbow and just lifting from the elbow up to align with your shoulder, and start there. And maybe you build up the shoulder muscle a little bit, that way, and then you can extend out. Lots of variations for these exercises. Using elastic band, you can challenge your triceps. You can see she's doing an elbow extension over her head with the elastic band. It's a great tricep exercise. You can also use free weights for this. You can do tricep dips off of the couch or off of a chair. And the bicep curl there is what we kind of talked about earlier in the presentation, where you're extending your free weight down so the elbow is fully extended but not locked, because as you can see in A of the bicep curl, you can see his bicep kind of contracted still a little bit. His elbow is fully extended, but it's not completely locked, so that he's continuing that contraction throughout the set, so that he's challenging that muscle as much as he can without kind of locking the elbow and being susceptible to injury. And here's an example for core strength, doing a crunch with good form, trying not to strain the neck. So see the space under B where his chin is still really tucked, is not tucked down to his chest, where you're curling your neck and pulling on your neck. You want to keep space between your chin and your chest. So I always tell people, look at the ceiling or look behind you slightly, and making sure you're getting your shoulder blades off the mat and really contracting your abdominals. Just one example of a strength exercise you can do for your core. If your neck bothers you even doing this exercise, some people like to put their feet up on a chair, up on a stability ball, or avoid crunches altogether. And you can flip over and kind of do a plank exercise and some other stability exercise that you can do to challenge your core. Here's some examples of lower body exercises. Squats. You can do them with resistance bands or without resistance bands, like we talked about earlier, just squatting over the chair. Same goes with lunges. All you need is your body weight in good form. You might want to use the wall to help you with balance, but this is a great one to train your quadriceps, your hamstrings, your glutes, and just build up your core due to the fact that you do have to balance in this posture. Do it to 8 repetitions on each leg, and I promise you'll feel those ones right away. As you get better at it, you can add free weights in your hands. Maybe you're using a medicine ball. Maybe you're challenging, your movement, with different, angles. You might want to go off of a step. You might want to include a Bosu ball. There's so many different tools out there to kind of challenge these movements as you progress. Here's some stuff, again, that you could do, at work. These don't have any equipment requirements. If you have something to hold on to just to stabilize yourself, you can practice doing hip exercises, some flexion and extension exercises to, again, hopefully build up your range of motion in your hip and your strength in your glutes and your, if you have low back pain, this one's great to kind of build up that area. Leg curls, if you have ankle weights, maybe you have ankle weights at home from years past or for whatever reason, or if you ever had physical therapy before and needed something for your ankles, you can stand behind a chair with good balance and just bring your heel up to your butt. Will strengthen the hamstring and kind of build up that muscle a little bit. There's methods of doing this laying on the floor as well, using a stability ball. Again, just an example of the movement that the hamstring does, and you can find, a machine at the gym or a method to do at home with minimal equipment to accomplish that exercise. That is just a few of the many different movements that are available. If you feel pain or weakness in any of those movements, there's an alternative for you. You just have to find what works for you. I wanted to share acefitness.org, a wonderful library of exercises that you can kind of go view. And you can actually pick from a drop-down menu and select what muscle group you're trying to work out, what equipment you have available to you and what level of fitness are you. Are you a beginner, advanced? Do you want something really difficult or do you want something really easy? Based on what you type into the library kind of search tool, it will spit back a bunch of different exercises with videos of how to perform the exercise properly, with pictures and instructions. You can even save the exercises and build up your own workout. So I highly recommend going and visiting that website to get more ideas on safe exercises that you can try. Okay? So that's great. Those are the guidelines and hopefully some of just the basics to help you get started with the strength training routine. Now, what is going to hold you back? What keeps us from engaging in a regular routine and doing it, even as little as twice a week? And I think ultimately the behavior change is the harder part. Sometimes we can justify not getting started because it's too much to think about. I don't want to count. I don't want to have to build a whole routine for myself. But really, it's important as we connect the mind, body, and spirit to kind of align your goals to what is really going to motivate you. Why do you want to accomplish? What do you want to accomplish? Why do you need a strong body? Why do you want to feel better and have more efficient movement? Connect those bigger why or the purpose of it all. Back to why you need to have these routines in your lifestyle. Fill your gaps. So if going through this presentation still leaves you with questions and kind of a feeling of being lost in how to get started, ask for support. Take advantage of some of the resources that you might have with Easter Seals, or go down to your local fitness resource, or go to see your primary care doctor. Maybe they have, a facility or a program in the area that they've seen success, whether it's, part of the physical therapy program if you need a little bit extra assistance, or it's, at a local YMCA or wherever. Taking small steps, maybe that is as easy as trying to perform some bodyweight squats at home while you're watching TV during commercial breaks, or getting down on the floor and stretching, and performing some of the exercises that you've done in the past that maybe you've learned. Even as far back as if you've ever had to go to physical therapy and they gave you your at-home exercises that, would accomplish to help strengthen the area that you're recovering, whether you had an injury or you just had weakness or whatever it was. Those exercises are never bad to continue to do. If you continue to do them, that efficiency is only going to improve even more and be able to maintain that movement. So that's something, too, that you can tap back into if you have exercises that you're familiar with that your body can handle. Just start trying to work those into your routine any way you can. Track your progress. Reward yourself. Allow yourself to indulge, something maybe not related to food, but plan a trip or, do something with a friend or do something with your family after you find some success, in a routine. It's the lack of faith that makes people afraid of meeting challenges, and I believe in myself. Muhammad Ali, great way to kind of just, ground yourself and decide what you want to accomplish and try to find out why it hasn't worked in the past and find the right way that you can get there now. The number one reason people stop exercising or never start, it's the same for all of us. It's the lack of time. We all have 24 hours every day, and it's really, really difficult. You can't find time. You really ultimately have to make time. So I'm hoping that this presentation helps kind of build why this should be a priority, or this should be part of everything that you do to maintain your own health and well-being. But maybe you can find a method of performing strength resistance training that doesn't feel like formal exercise. So whether that's going to a class or whether that is doing some type of sport or, activity that that you're getting, those routines, the exercises that you just saw in all those pictures, whether you're squatting a lot or you're lunging a lot, what kind of exercises require you to do those types of motions on a regular basis, and how can you fit this into your day? Obviously we can identify time wasters, whether it's time we waste on social media, scrolling on our phones at the end of a work day, or time that is going to people, or people are draining your time that ultimately aren't healthy for you, and you have to make some decisions whether you're going to eliminate those things to allow yourself to focus on what you want to focus on. So what next steps are there? So even if you're just choosing one new exercise to add this week, like I said, trying the squats in the morning before you shower, or maybe, trying to do the push-ups on the wall, and maybe your goal is to be able to do a bodyweight push-up next year or something like that. Find something really small and attainable, and just start doing it. Start working it in. Maybe you have a reminder, a trigger that you put in your workstation, or a coworker or a friend or somebody that can be your accountability person that's doing this with you. There's so many things that you can do to set yourself up for success. And it really comes down to what you really want to accomplish. And our goal is to be able to provide you the resources that you need to be able to take those steps. Here's a couple other just links that are important. Good places for solid information regards exercise. I mean, again, there's so many opinions and pseudoscience that's out there to sell products and programs. And at the end of the day, these are kind of the evidence-based, research-based governing bodies that we all look to when they update guidelines, and what we use for education all come from these sources. So great places to go if you're looking for more information. And again, you're never too old to start a muscular strength and endurance routine. And again, you may never understand how quickly you can really feel the effects of this. It's not like you need to do this for years and years and years. You will feel the positive benefits immediately. You will be surprised how quickly you feel stronger and how quickly you adapt to movement and can move more efficiently. And that's the most empowering part about this entire thing. So again, I hope you can pick one small step you can take this week to build strength. I thank you for spending your time with me today. And if you have any questions, I, again, will kind of refer you to Christy Nolt, our wellness coordinator, who can be the gateway to all the different exercise and fitness resources that we have at Easter Seals. And she can kind of give you suggestions of where to start, whether health coaching might be something that you're interested in, or what kind of exercise tools that we have available for you. So thank you so much for attending. Be sure to put this on your Passport tracker as maybe your first educational unit to count for the 2017-2018 wellness program. And I hope to see you again later this year. Have a great day, everybody.